Hello, everyone. I'm Patricia Butler, and I want to welcome you back to our live dispatch from home. We do this once or twice a week, and our goal is just to bring a little music into your home and be a musical oasis for you in the middle of a really strange time. I'm the CEO and co founder of ArtistWorks, and in case you don't know who we are an online music instruction company, and we've been very fortunate for the last 11 years to be working with 37 world renowned musicians who have just been dragged kicking and screaming into our Napa Valley studios to record pretty much everything they know so that you can learn pretty much anything you want. What's different about ArtistWorks is that students are able to upload a video to their teacher, and the teacher then responds with a video of guidance, and we keep those two paired together. That's called a video exchange, and we show that to everyone in the course. And we are really very fortunate tonight to have with us one of our master musicians, Dave Stryker. Dave is our jazz guitar teacher, and his star has clearly risen. You may have seen at the beginning of the event or on the Facebook or YouTube post that Dave once again finds his newest release in the #1 spot in the jazz charts. So we are very fortunate to have him with us. He's playing behind me already. So Dave Stryker is ready to start us off, and I hope that you enjoy this evening. Get ready to ask some questions. And here is Dave Stryker. Yay! That was great, Dave Stryker. Thank you so much. And tonight we are really excited to hear about Dave's newest release, but also joining us is my co-founder and the chairman of ArtistWorks, also my husband, David Butler, who started all of ArtistWorks because he wanted to learn jazz guitar. So here we are. Welcome.
That's right. That's right. And I was the person that said we should get Dave Stryker in here.
That's right.
For sure.
That's right.
I was your advocate. I loved your music, and I remembered hearing you in a few clubs in New York back in the day.
Yeah.
And you've done nothing but get better and better over all the years. So
Well,
great. Hello, Dave. Great to see you.
David and Patricia, it's great to see you guys, and thanks for having me as a guest. It's nice to be here, coast to coast, I guess, huh? You're in Napa, and I'm in here in New Jersey over here.
Yeah.
Through the internet, through the worldwide interwebs.
What were you playing there, Dave? Was that a cut from the new Blue Soul, or what was that?
That was some blues and some soul, I guess, but it was just a blues and B flat. I thought I would play, and I ended up with a tune called "Solid" by Sonny Rollins, and as Lou Donaldson said, gotta start with the blues.
Okay.
He's got
Is that a good impersonation of this guy?
Well, I could do about a half hour, but no, Lou Donaldson is one of the greats of. He's still with us, and he's this amazing saxophonist, and but he's hilarious. He's a hilarious guy, and never afraid to say what his opinions on people, musicians, or whatever. So he's a great cat.
Well, we were really happy to get the news today that your latest release is #1. Yesterday it was #2. Today it's #1. That's how do you learn about those things? Do you get the call?
Oh, well, there's the jazz radio is tracked by it's called Jazz Week, and it's so all the radio stations let Jazz Week know what they're playing that week, and then they tally it, I guess, or something. And I'm super excited, man. I mean, when I was just first starting to play guitar, and listening to AM radio, I mean, I never thought it would be possible that I could, people would like my music enough to make a #1 record, and I'm super happy about it. I hit last summer. I hit a home run with 8-track 3.
Yeah,
that stayed #1 for like 6 weeks, and I'm a lot of us musicians are the eternal pessimists in a way, but I'm like, this is never going to happen again, and I understand that. And it's a big band record too, so it's. I'm just happy that the people are digging it, and a lot of people, I'm sure, at this time were like, this is not the best time to, with all this going on, to release a record. But I was already, it was kind of in the pipeline. I said, people are sitting at home. This is, going back a few months. Why not just put it out there and put some positivity out into the world?
How did you do it, though, Dave? I mean, a lot of people, I'm sure, are curious about that. How do you get something released in the middle of a pandemic? What are the details of that?
Well, it's luckily I had, like I said, it had already been in the pipeline before, and so the CDs were pressed and it was sent to the different platforms that are out there now, like Spotify, and I used to not do Spotify, but my younger son said, "Dad, you got to put everything on. It's got to be on Spotify. That's how people listen to music now." So I've succumbed. So
Was there any mixing? Did you have to do any mastering and final mixing
Oh
or
yeah,
anything at
yeah.
the end?
That
Okay.
was all done like in the last year. We recorded it
Wow.
a year ago, March. I went over to, this is a record I did with the Cologne big band,
Okay.
and the conductor and arranger was Bob Mintzer, and it was a great experience. It's a studio big band over there. It's been going for many, many years. All first class players, and we spent we went in and rehearsed, and it's in a studio, so they just started recording for the minute we started playing, and we were able to pick the takes, and we ended up we rehearsed for a couple of days and just picked the best takes, and then we did a couple gigs. And what they do is they have different guests come in, and then they broadcast it over the radio and TV if it's video, and people in Germany pay a small amount of taxes to WDR, and so they support their artists that way. And they also have two symphony orchestras, and
Wow.
it's a good thing. It's really a good thing.
It's different too, isn't it? I mean, you don't have that in the United States.
No, we sure don't.
Not that I'm slapping down the United States. I'm not. I'm just saying it's very different.
No, they in Europe they take care of the arts, and
Yeah.
we should do that more.
I hope that in the future we will. I think a lot of people during this pandemic are turning more to music. I think it's therapeutic, as I've said many times on these broadcasts. I find it is an oasis. David and I listen to more albums here at home, and we play more music. We haven't recently been playing so much together, but I think it's a very important part of feeling better about a difficult situation. So thank you for bringing new and good music into the world.
Yeah, I'm very happy that people are getting to hear it and are enjoying it, because it was a bucket list kind of thing for me to have my music performed by a big band, and to have a guy like Bob Mintzer, who's one of the greatest musicians out there right now, and arrangers, and he's on it, playing on it, and arranged it, and just couldn't be happier.
Now, I think you have many more successes to come, Dave. Definitely, the 8-track series, all of that. It really, you got a footprint out there now, and we love it. David was listening to it earlier, and I don't want to hog the microphone. David, maybe you have some questions of Dave.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's a great CD, and I was curious to know, you had some German musicians obviously that were there, but you brought over some American musicians. You had Billy Tess there with you, and Bob himself is American. So what was it like mixing the cultures, and how did the music and the people, how did they do together in that situation? Plus, it's American jazz, so you often wonder how other countries approach it.
Well, this is an exception that the WDR big band is world class, and they've done a lot of records with Americans. In fact, they bring some Americans over quite a bit, or Europeans as well, guest artists in all kinds of different styles of music, and do the same thing I did. They rehearse, and then they play either a concert, or they just record it in the studio, and then they play it over the air for the public. And so this is their routine. And Bill, actually, there's a few Americans that have joined the band and have lived there for many years. My good friend John Goldsby is the bassist. I've known him for probably 25 years. I knew him when he was in Brooklyn, and let's see who else. Carolina Strassmeyer, the alto player. I know she was in the States for a while. I believe she might be German, but she was here in the States. And Billy Tess just took the gig, and it's a very nice, lucrative gig to get. So it's a coveted gig. It's very a lot of competition to get those, to get a seat in that orchestra. But I would say most of them are German. There's some Swedish guys, Johan Horland, I know is Swedish. I'm not sure where all of those guys are from, but probably
international.
Mostly German. And but there have been some Americans that have passed through there. And of course, Bob is, I always joke that Bob is, if any of us ever think we're like burning the candle at both ends or too busy, we can just always look at Bob, who He runs the jazz program at USC. He's a member of the Yellow Jackets for 25 years, touring all over the world. He's got his own band, his own big band, always writing music for that and performing. He goes out as the artist, himself, and he also is the chief conductor and arranger for the WDR Big Band. So, the guy stays busy.
Well, I just want to point out to people who haven't heard this record that you're hearing a lot of names mentioned, but this is very much a Dave Stryker record. In fact, you wrote 3 of the tunes yourself, and they're great. And then it's some of these are follow-on interpretations to work you did on the 8-track series. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, Bob, I've been a fan of Bob since I first came to New York in the early 80s. And so, the fact that I get to play with some of my heroes, that's been one of the beautiful things about this journey. Not just Bob, but, some of the guys I played with early on, like Jack McDuff and Stanley Turrentine, these guys. I feel super grateful and blessed that I got that opportunity to work in their groups. I was in the kind of the very tail end of that era where you could work with some of the masters before they passed on. But I consider Bob in that category. But anyway, so we're friends, and we had done some gigs in different places. And then I had started asking him to be a guest with my group, my organ trio. And we would play some of this music that I've been recording, as well as my originals, but we'd also throw in, of course, some of the 8-track stuff. And he thought that would be a cool fit with the WDR Big Band to arrange a few of those tunes and, give it a little different slant. They called it Neo Soul, that particular concerts that we did when we were over there. And he picked a few of those 8-track tunes. Let's see, we did Trouble Man and by Marvin Gaye, and What's Going On, both by Marvin Gaye. And let's see what else he did. Wichita Lineman.
Yeah.
There's one other one I'm forgetting. Oh yeah, we did. He did arrangement of the Prince tune that I arranged. See, so what he did is, I had arranged these tunes already, which I did for the 8-track project, which is go talk about that more later. But he took those ideas and expanded them like tenfold. So the other tune was When Doves Cry by Prince.
Oh, yeah.
Some people say, well, that's not the 8-track area, but I'm such a nerd. I did look it up, and 8 tracks disappeared in like 83 or 4.
Oh, I remember.
And that record with When Doves Cry came out like in 82. So somewhere there could be an 8-track of that Prince record.
It seems, though, Dave, that you're really striking a chord with, I'm going to guess, the baby boomer generation because of your choice of music and just the titles that you're giving these releases. It's really smart on your part. But what's really awesome, I think, is that you just back it up with great music. It's just really enjoyable to listen to. And I hope everybody out there goes and looks for Blue Soul. And it's on Amazon now, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, good. Well, you've got a lot of people that are interested in saying hello.
Great.
Is it okay if we just let a few of these in?
That's good.
Okay. You've been in Healdsburg before, I know. You came to the jazz, and you were with Bob Mincer.
No, Jared. He was with Jared.
I thought Mincer was there too.
No, we played in Healdsburg.
Who am I thinking of?
We played in Healdsburg. You came. Actually, no, that's right. You came to Healdsburg, you and David, and we played. That was before the Napa gig, where we played trio, and ArtistWorks filmed it. That was with Jared and Daryl Green on drums. But we had previously came out to do the Healdsburg Jazz Festival.
Yeah.
And that was with Mincer.
Right.
And Steve Nelson on vibes,
right.
and Byron Landham and Jared. Yeah.
Yes, I remember that.
Hey, John, what's up, man? John's one of my students from ArtistWorks.
Cool. And Michael Ahern in Manassas, Virginia. I remember there used to be a lot of Manassas jazz festivals there. I don't know if they still do them or not, but Then Chuck Hill is checking in from Tampa. I hope you're safe down there, Chuck. My goodness, Florida is on just as bad as California. I mean, we're really in trouble here. A couple places in the U.S., but we're going to get through this. And Michael is from Brooklyn, New York.
Right on.
And John Nolan is from Fort Lauderdale.
Great to see all of you guys, man.
Yeah, Fabiano is
From
here
Brazil.
from Brazil. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, muito bom.
Muito
bem.
That was very impressive, Dave.
So, yeah,
All right,
my 2 words I know in Portuguese.
Well, you shouldn't have told me that because it sounded very impressive. Here's Chuck from Idaho. And then let's see, there was another one here I wanted to make sure I got up. Maybe you know.
Rasan. Rasan is he's somewhere in Idaho too.
Okay.
Utah. He's in Utah.
Okay. And Bruce Westmoreland is from Ontario.
Man, this is so cool.
Isn't it great to see more people? And then here's one. I think it's your sister.
Hey, I owe it all to my big sister Cindy right there. She's
that's nice of you to say.
Yeah, well, she knows that. I told her many times because she was a little bit older than me, so she had all the Beatles 45s. And I would listen to her playing those, and then I decided, I have to be George Harrison. So
well, thank you, Cindy, for that influence. And there's one of your students, and then we just got a couple more here, just because I wanted everybody to be able to say hello from Vancouver, British Columbia.
Cool.
And then here's a comment for David. John says, "Thank you for getting Dave Stryker."
It was my privilege.
Tim Bradley from Denver, and then here's some guy, I think he's an interloper, I don't know. Guy named Howard Paul.
Hey!
Anybody know him?
Sure do. What great guitar player.
Howard Paul's a great guitar player. He is also the head of Benedetto Guitars, and you've got one of those in your hands.
I do.
Don't you? What are you playing? That's a good opportunity for us to talk a little bit about your guitar.
This is my Benedetto Bravo.
Ooh, Bravo.
Bravo Deluxe. And I think if you look behind me, that might be my GA35 back there. So that's more of a semi-hollow sound. But yeah, I love these Benedettos are so nice. I mean, they super clear, and I've been playing Gibsons my whole life, and I have a guitar that kind of like my left arm.
Yeah.
But it's there's something about these Benedettos that have a clarity that's really fun to play.
Yeah, David has one. What do you have? What Benedetto do you have, David?
I have a Bravo, not the deluxe.
Oh, I see.
The non-deluxe Bravo.
Keep practicing, Dave.
I am absolutely. I
We're
love your
take you
school.
off camera.
When I have time, I pop in there and try to learn a few things here and there.
All right.
But most of the time, I'm playing,
sorry.
This Land Is Your Land on the acoustic guitar.
Because
Dave started a school just recently for beginners, and which is always needed, and so he's doing that. And I was asking him how that was going, and I think it's going good.
That's for it's the Beginner's Guide to Acoustic Guitar, and he does not teach it on a Benedetto. I'm sorry, Howard. But you do have a Benedetto, and people always like seeing Benedettos and guitars, so maybe I'll take you off camera and you could get your Benedetto and show them. Everybody loves seeing guitars, so you should definitely do that.
Especially guitar players.
Exactly, and there's a lot of them here. Dave, would you like to play us another tune?
Sure.
We've got some questions for you, but I'd love to hear something from the album.
Well, the big band, we couldn't fit them down the stairs, unfortunately. They're waiting out in the bus. So I'm going to play something. This is a song by Billie Holiday.
Ooh.
Echo.
Oh, you know what? I have to make an adjustment here. Let me do that.
David, you can get your Benedetto if you want to.
Let me make an adjustment here. on the sound. I should have done that on the first tune.
That's okay. For those of you who are watching, we get an echo when he changes the processor.
All right, let me try this. All right, let's try again. All right. Billie Holiday.
Echo.
Oh, let me fix that.
Okay.
And I'm back.
Okay, we're back. We have to press this little button so we don't have this big echo. We do have some fun with it when we do turn it on, but it's under Dave's control and he has to flip the switch on us. That was beautiful, Dave. Tell me a little bit about what you were playing there. I think David's going to get his guitars to he's not going to play them. He's just going to show them. Tell me what you were just.
Yeah, that was a tune by Billie Holiday, the great tune called "God Bless the Child." And, yeah, and yeah. So just a little chord arrangement. You know, these times have been, you know, with not being able to, especially in the the last few months, not being able to play with other musicians because we've all been in a bit of a lockdown. It's been a perfect opportunity to play solo guitar, which is I feel a great skill to have because you can play by you want to be one of our goals as guitar players or any musician is to be able to play by ourselves. Now of course that's not it's fun. It's more fun and gratifying in a lot of ways to interact with other musicians, but the ability to sit down and play this instrument and by yourself and keep a groove going and play some harmony and some chords is something that is very important. And I on my side here at ArtistWorks and with all the students that I work with at different levels, at the universities and stuff that I teach at, it's a big part of what we do. Is being able to play solo guitar.
And Martin Taylor plays solo guitar all the time, and one of the reasons he cited for learning to play solo guitar was because he had played with Stefan Grappelli, and then when Stefan died, he just really wanted to be able to take the stage and play some of those parts himself, so he learned. It's mainly fingerstyle, but he does a lot of solo guitar. And I swear to you, there's 3 or 4 guitars playing sometimes. He's really a master at it. So I'm really glad that you're doing some of that now, too. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's always been, to me, a part of, playing music is being able to play. That's like if you were just sitting there and somebody says, play some, you want to, yeah. But I just want to say that Martin Taylor is one of my favorites, and my God, I listened to him just like 2 days ago. I think I wrote him, but he did I saw a YouTube of him playing Girl Talk, and it was phenomenal. And it's funny because that was like my guitar feature with Jack McDuff many years ago, and he just Martin just sounded so good.
Yeah,
enough about Martin.
Yeah, so every time we have one of these events, we have to talk about guitars because so many guitar players join us. And thank you all. Many of you are students. I hope many of you soon will be students. But I encourage David to at least show some of his guitars. So you guys, Dave and David, could maybe talk about it. Maybe there's some questions. So David, what have you got there? What's in the shot now?
I think because Howard Paul is in our midst.
He's in the audience.
You had mentioned showing the Bravo. I'll show it. It looks a lot different than Dave's, but here it is.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And what's amazing is that David is actually giving that away tonight.
That's right.
We're going to have
the 5th color.
We're going to have a lottery. So you're here. You're at the right spot tonight.
That
is I love that non-binding, man. That is
beautiful
really
guitar. And I ended up with it because Howard Paul was visiting us, and he had a whole bunch of guitars with him. And he was about to leave. He had about 5 of them, I think. He can tell us. And I just said, I'll let you leave with 4 of them.
Wow.
And I said, what?
And I had no need for it whatsoever. But Howard was sweet and gave me a really nice deal on it, and I love it. Definitely.
Well, he's correcting you, Howard is now. I should have given him a link to come into this. He said, David, your guitar is a hand-carved Bravo Elite.
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 Okay, it's Elite, not a Deluxe.
It is
Or
not a
maybe
deluxe.
David might be more elite than me then.
Yeah, who knows?
But anyway, they're both great guitars. But I think
Can I trade my guitar for your playing ability? Will that work?
Sure. What I think is interesting, about David is that here we have a guy that's super smart guy who is had a whole career before he got into this ArtistWorks website. And I don't want to go into what it was, but he's a very smart person, and but he happens to like jazz guitar, right?
That's it.
Yeah, he likes
jazz guitar.
So he kind of started getting into online teaching website, and has developed this VE that I think you guys have. I think it's one of the coolest teaching platforms out there, because with VEs, the students, if they're a part of my school, I have the lessons that live on the site, everything from how to tune your guitar to how to play giant steps and everything in between. And the students can, pick a song they're working on and send in a VE, goes into my queue, and then once a week or so I will go on and listen and send a VE back to the students. So the student is kind of getting some one-on-one time. And I don't know, a lot of the masterclass type schools, it's more like the teacher is teaching, and there's not a lot of interaction. So it's kind of very cool what you've done, David. I think
Thank you.
he moved from jazz guitar, and now I think you have everything from bluegrass and mandolin and to scratching turntables, right?
Well, starting this thing, it was mainly for guitar for me personally. The rest of it was Patricia. She said, this could be a business. And I'm like, well, I don't need a business. I've got my guitar teacher. I'm ready to go. But anyway, she's the reason why it went much bigger. So you can,
but you had
can
the
thank her
idea.
for that.
Oh.
How many different instruments and teachers do you have now?
37.
37.
37. Started with jazz guitar, and the most recent one we added was a bluegrass banjo, Noam Pekelny. But then right after that was the first of many adult beginner courses that we're going to have, because so many boomers are picking up an instrument that they haven't played since they were 12, or they just want to have some music in their life. It's a great thing for mental sharpness. So we started with the acoustic guitar because we really wanted to work out the model and sort of the format and everything. So David's teaching the beginner's guide to acoustic guitar. He's a great fingerstyle player, but he does teach people from the first time they're putting their fingers on the guitar up through playing their favorite music and the music they love. But the next one to come is electric rock guitar. Well, I don't think you can play rock guitar on an acoustic. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Oh, yes, you can.
Okay, fine.
Been doing it my whole life.
All
But
right.
to sound like the records, you're probably going to need to get an electric at some point.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Well, David, I know you had some questions for Dave. I don't think that you've asked them all. I have a couple, but if you have questions, why don't you ask the maestro?
Well, I would like to, you mentioned that your sister's Beatles 45s were the thing that kind of inspired you to want to learn how to play, and that you aspired to be George Harrison, and don't we all? But how did you go from what we do, which is, we strum chords, C, G, D, A, and we might eventually learn some leads. How do you make that transition, or how did you make that transition? What was the sequence that suddenly told you wanted to go into the jazz guitar world, and how did what you know before help you or hinder you? Just talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So, I remember being, at that same time, getting into the Beatles and guitars, and people talk about garage bands. I can remember in Omaha, where I grew up, there would be like a band in a garage, and they would lift up the garage door and they would be in there playing. And I mean, I would thought that was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And I says, I want to do that. And so, of course, I started taking guitar lessons and just learning the tunes off the radio. And Paul, I'm not going to people could, I don't want to tell people that all the crazy music that I was into, but, whatever was on the radio, man, I was into it. And so, early on, Three Dog Night, Paul Revere and the Raiders, all that stuff. The funny thing is, and Rolling Stones, and the first record I bought was Disraeli Gears by Cream. And of course, Eric Clapton is coming from Albert King, So I'm discovering the blues from an English guy, in London, when I'm 3 hours east of me is Albert King is probably playing a gig, in Chicago. So that it's just weird how you learn these things. But so the blues based rock was a big part of my, what I really dug. And of course, then Jimi Hendrix. I remember buying that Smash Hits, and so this is very blues based stuff. And then I went through a period of hard rock and all kinds of crazy stuff, just because you're 13 and it's whatever, I just love music. And but then I think in high school I started getting into like Santana and the Allman Brothers, and once again kind of blues based stuff, and went to a jam session in Omaha, and a guy took me under his wing, a local sax player, and thought I had some talent, and started showing me some tunes like they play, like Song for My Father and Sugar and Girl from Ipanema, tunes that they would play on gigs. And I that's kind of how I bridged into going from the kind of blues-based rock into jazz. And then I started, went to a jam session one time at the Union Hall, and I had long hair, and I think I had a Telecaster, and they were playing Song for My Father, and I got up there and I started ripping my rock licks over it, and one of the guys came up and said, "Hey, you can't be playing the rock licks, man. This is jazz." And I was like, "What?" So I went to the record store and I picked up a Coltrane record, my favorite things, and George Benson, Beyond the Blue Horizon.
Great start.
A very auspicious start. And so as soon as I heard that, and I just got hooked, and I realized there's so much more to music, and got into Wes Montgomery and Pat Martino, and just listened to the records over and over and over. And that's kind of how I learned how to play. I also had some, good teachers along the way, a guy named Ron Cooley and Billy Rogers, different guys. But a lot of it was just sitting in front of the record player and trying to figure it out. And Grant Green, all the greats. And so that's kind of how I made that transition.
And do you remember what your first jazz gig was? Like when you felt like you were ready to stand up there and say, "I am now a jazz guitarist"?
Well, this guy Bobby Thompson, he was showing me tunes, so I would go to the jam session every week, and they had a Tuesday night jam session in Omaha at the Howard Street Tavern, and I would sit in there, and then the guy liked me, the guy named Luigi Waits, and he started letting me have my own gig, night there. Like they would have a band open up the night, and so I got to start playing and writing music and like having a band, and that's kind of how I got my start. And then got in a better band in Omaha with a bunch of friends, and we were playing. We ended up getting a gig at like the Hilton, playing 6 nights a week, 4 sets a night for 6 weeks. And we would play, like Girl from Ipanema and dance songs like that, and Satin Doll for the first 2 sets, and then Top 40 for the last 2 sets. And so I just got to play a whole lot, and then I ended up moving to LA for a couple of years, and then moved to New York. I've been there ever since.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, hearing that helps me understand better your 8-track series, because what's very interesting to me about that is the songs that you chose are not songs that anybody would have said, "Oh, this really needs to have its own jazz treatment." And yet you took these songs. I'll use as an example Wichita Lineman, the great old Glenn Campbell song.
Yeah.
Oh, no, actually he didn't write it, but
Jimmy Webb wrote that.
Jimmy Webb, yeah. But anyway, talk a little bit about kind of your vision. Like, what made you decide to we could say, greatly expand the jazz guitar repertoire
Well,
by bringing a lot of these other songs forward.
so it's interesting because, you know, all the way from the beginning when I was playing with Bobby Thompson in Omaha, along with Girl from Ipanema and Song for My Father and these kind of songs, they would do a song like Never Can Say Goodbye. That would be on the radio. So it was like you take a tune that's a popular, you know, song on the radio and jazz it up. Or there was another tune called Call Me, and which has the same changes as on Green Dolphin Street, you know, as does Never Can Say Goodbye, major to minor kind of thing. And and then, you know, even from the very beginning, it was never seemed weird to do that. It seemed like, you know, hey, you play a tune somebody recognizes, you're bringing the people in. You know, because people like to be involved. Like if you play a gig, you know, say you're playing a solo gig somewhere, and if you play a song, like I always tell my students, I say, you know, learn how to play a tune like Girl from Ipanema or Misty. And even though people like say, oh, that's, you know, I don't like that, you know, it's corny, whatever. I guarantee you somebody's going to come up and say, I really enjoyed that version of Girl from Ipanema that you played, because they like to, you know, have that connection to be a part of the experience. So you take that and then you do it with pop tunes. And so, you know, and so then moving forward, when I got the gig with great Jack McDuff, organ player, that was a gig that guys like Grant Green had played with him, and George Benson, and Pat Martino, Billy Rogers, all the greats kind of had gone through that gig. He would throw in a pop tune, same thing. And then later when I got the gig with Stanley Turrentine, he actually did a whole record of Stevie Wonder music. So this wasn't anything, the 8-track thing wasn't really anything that hadn't been done before by any stretch of the imagination. But what the idea was is that when I was doing gigs, you know, about 10 years ago, I would throw in a tune like, you know, Carpenter's tune, you know, Close to You or something. And I would say on the mic, that's going to be on my next record. Dave Stryker plays the hits of the 8-track as a joke. And people would laugh. But then people started coming up and saying, when is that 8-track record you're doing coming out? And I said, and then my wife, who gives me usually good advice, said, you have to do that record, you know, because, and I realized, hey man, I got to do this, you know, before somebody steals my 8-track idea.
Yeah.
So I did the first 8-track record, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, you know, picking tunes from that era, you know, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, all these, you know, Earth, Wind and Fire. There's just there's a lot of great music from the 70s when the 8-track era was popular. But I had to figure out a way to put my own stamp on them and improvise on them so that they were, you know, you don't want to be corny, right? You know,
Right.
you got to figure out a way to do something with the music. And that's what I'm pretty proud of what we've done, myself and Jared Gold, McClenny Hunter. They've been on all this stuff.
It's
my trio.
great. I really enjoy it, and I'm glad that you took that route, and thank you for that. A couple of folks here have questions. If it's okay for us to put a few on for you, Dave.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so here we go. I can read this to you. This is from Fabiano. I think he might be the gentleman from Brazil. Hello, Dave. I don't know if you remember me, but I have a question, please. Are you studying and composing in this pandemic? How are you keeping your mind balanced? I think he's saying, how is keeping the mind balanced?
Fabiano, how you doing, my friend? Of course, I remember you. Fabiano is a great guitarist, as is just about everyone in Brazil, by the way. If you're from Brazil, when you are born, they give you a guitar.
And you can dance, right?
Well, I mean, I'm serious. You know, there's a certain thing about the feel that you know, it's a natural thing. Like certain things in American music, you know, we have the feel for, but as far as the guitar and Brazilian music, guys like Tonino Horta, João Gilberto, and now more recently, guys like Humero Labambo. And these guys are friends of mine, and Fabiano. So his question is, what am I doing right now? So it's just like everyone else. I'm trying to stay positive, and it's extraordinary times, especially for us musicians, because we live to play music, and we live to play music with other people and for other people. And with this situation we're in now, we aren't able to do that, and it's so the main thing is to try to stay positive, and that can be difficult at times, but we're lucky in that, what I was saying earlier, we have this instrument right here, and we can make music on it. And the thing about music and the guitar or any instrument is it's always sitting there, and there's always more to learn. No matter, whether you're Segovia or Pat Metheny or George Benson. I mean, they'll tell you there's always more you can learn. There's always a new song to write, and so that's I've tried to stay busy, either working on solo, like for instance, every week I've been putting up a solo guitar piece. I bought this right before this pandemic. I bought this. I think you can see it over my right there. That's a 1956 Gibson 125. And I always liked the way those things sounded, and I bought it. So I've kind of been putting once a week, put up a solo guitar piece. And it's not the easiest guitar to play, but it's got a sweet sound, and just a thing. I make myself do it to keep myself from going crazy.
That's
I know a lot of tunes, but it makes me and people seem to like doing that, and so I do that, work on solo guitar. I'm also teaching at a university, so I need to get I love teaching and sharing. I was lucky, like I said, to get to play with some of the greats, and so I feel that it's important to pass on the experiences that I had working with some of those guys, and whether I do it in the universities or at ArtistWorks, it's I'm happy to do that. And so there's always music, there's always stuff to do, and anybody who's a musician knows this. Fabiano, especially you, as great as you play,
and you're teaching the world music, and that's great. We do have another question for you, Dave, from John Mihalik. And he's saying, I often hear you doing a rhythm groove that is swinging between two chords, such as is it Laplace? Street and Messing with Mr. T. Maybe you can read that. It seems simple to the ear, but can you talk about that kind of a groove?
I really can't give away those kind of secrets, John. I'm really sorry.
That's it. So that's the end of the broadcast right there. Sorry.
Okay, so he's talking about a shuffle groove.
Okay.
So the thing about when I was working with guys like McDuff and Stanley is, to me, I feel music there's the big three in music is sound, rhythm, and harmony. So the first thing people that hear that know nothing about music, they're going to hear when they listen to you play is your sound. So it's important to project a beautiful sound, and however you need to do that, of course you have to practice technique and remember, the first time I was playing up in Harlem with Jack McDuff, I looked out, and 10 feet away, George Benson is sitting there, and I remember thinking to myself, if I get through this night, I'll be good, because no one else will ever scare me as much as this guy. And he got up, and I played a tune with him. This Masquerade had just come out, and he sang and I played, and then I handed him my L5, and he didn't touch a knob and he didn't touch anything on the amp. He just started playing, and it sounded just like George Benson. And I was like,
amazing.
Wow, maybe it's maybe it's in the fingers.
It's a thing.
Yes. So sound is important. Next thing is rhythm. And that's what John was asking in that question. And if you're playing he started talking about a blues. Can I play without, does this mess up the sound? Can you hear that? The basic, shuffle rhythm, if you're playing a blues, would be 2, 3, 4. So that's just, it's really just the Charleston rhythm. It's a dance that, our grandparents used to dance to, called the Charleston. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So that's just your basic jazz, foundation rhythm. But on a shuffle, you don't have to be afraid to play that for 10 minutes and just groove with the drums or the organ or the bass player, or whatever. It just locks in, and that kind of sound. Sometimes with piano and guitar, it can clash, but if the guitar player is playing like a consistent rhythm, the piano player will, fit around that. So I think that's what you mean. It's basically called the Charleston rhythm. It's a quarter note, quarter rest, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So it's a 1, 2, 4, 1, 2. So it's the and a 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, the and a 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that, right? So I think that's what you mean, as far as just you just groove-a-late on that and lock it in. Don't be afraid to, you don't have to play a whole bunch of stuff. You want to just get in there and groove with the rhythm section.
So, groove-a-late?
Groove-a-late, that's a...
Did you want to look that one up, Dave, or we're gonna go with that? Okay, we're gonna go with that.
We'll go with it. Why not?
Now this is so funny. I have to put it up because you just said masquerade, and Ed Ross said, "I love your weekly covers. Do you have any COVID-19 covers? How about masquerade?" As in, the. I thought that was pretty funny.
I see what Ed did there.
You see what he did there?
We got to laugh, don't we? That's all.
We have to laugh. We're coming up on the hour, but let's take a few minutes here. There's just a couple questions. Mike Macaulay said, "Which of your hollow body arch tops is easiest to play?" And that is, what's the answer to that? You better say Benedetto, because Howard Paul's on here.
They all, every
It's
guitar
Benedetto.
is different. Every guitar is different. It's that's what's cool about them. Easiest to play. I like the smaller neck that I have on my Gibson 347, which is similar to the Benedetto GA35. So to me, it's not what's easy to play. It's more like what I'm hearing and what I feel like playing at that moment, and then it's up to me to get the best sound out of it as I can. I don't feel like it's that, like I said, like that 125. That's sometimes you're kind of fighting the guitar a little bit, but that's part of the challenge. And but obviously these a guitar like a Benedetto is super great craftsmanship, and this is plays like butter.
It's a piece of art too.
They're
That
made to play.
plays like butter. What,
Yeah.
David? Sorry.
So they're made to play. Benedettos don't usually sit in the corner. Sometimes they're generally played.
It's a beautiful
yeah.
sound. It just makes a beautiful sound.
And the other thing is about Benedettos is that they're really designed especially for jazz guitarists. There's been a huge amount of input from jazz guitarists to the Benedetto guitar line. Bob Benedetto loved jazz guitar. He wasn't a player himself. He actually started as a violin maker. But by working with a lot of great guitarists over the years, all that input got eventually put into these great instruments.
Yeah.
They're beautiful.
Bob is cool, man. And they, I've been down to the factory in Savannah.
Yes,
Have you been
so
down there,
cool.
David?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, we're talking about American made for sure. And,
Definitely, yeah.
yeah. So it's it's an art. You're right. It's a piece of art.
Well, Dave, we're up on the hour, and there are still some lingering questions, but maybe we can get them answered the next time we have you on. But I want to sort of close out by saying congratulations to you. I've not known you all that long, 5 years. And it's just so great to see you experiencing the success that you're having with your recordings and releases and in your career, and also with your teaching at ArtistWorks. We're so pleased, so very pleased to have you teaching jazz guitar at ArtistWorks. As you know, and as you can see, it's a very important genre and instrument for us to be teaching. So I wanted to make sure, before we said goodbye, to thank you for all of your contributions to jazz guitar and also to ArtistWorks. So thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm really. It's great to have an online teaching platform. So please come, visit my site at artistworks.com. And thank you, David, for starting it, and Patricia for helping to run it. And we need music in times like this, don't we?
We do.
It's we can put some positivity out into the world with music, and Lord knows we need it.
Well, Dave, I'm sorry. David, were you going to say something? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I wasn't. I was just going to agree with what Dave was saying. And in these times when it's so difficult to get out, at least people can learn from home. And it's a really great thing to do. I mean, if you're stuck at home anyway, to use this time for reflection and self-improvement and learning an instrument or improving on an instrument that you know a little bit is a great thing to do. So,
all right.
Well, now, Dave, that we know the new band is going to be the Groovelators, maybe you could play a tune as we say goodbye. That's going to be on the next Groovelator album.
All right, this is the Groovelating Part 1.
I just want to make one thing, and that is to be sure you have your setting correct.
Yep.
Yeah, he got it. Let's call it Groovelation.
Groovelation.
Here's Dave Stryker. That's a Groovelation. You should leave the echo on so we can
Got
applause.
the echo on for the clapping.
That was great. Dave, thank you so much. And David, thanks for bringing some jazz guitar knowledge into this conversation. I wanted to make sure that we kind of took a little bit of a deep dive into jazz guitar. You added a lot to the conversation. Thank you.
Well, it was great to be here with Dave. So, and thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you all.
It's great working with you.
Right on. I look forward to it.
All right, you guys stay safe. Dave Stryker, we'll see you again, and best of luck in staying in the #1 spot on the jazz charts.
Thanks. And if anybody wants to get in touch with me, also, you can check me out on my website, davestryker.com. And thanks for tuning in today.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.